Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome back for another EVE Online video. Today's video is going to be a little bit of an easy one, since we are going to do a little bit of a market video from Jita itself. This is in fact what I have been doing in the last couple of days. War decks are still happening, and this time in fact the Somali Coast Guard Authority seems to want to have it out with us as well. They just started another war. Not really sure why my structure has been destroyed, but again, maybe the channel is putting a little bit of a spotlight on the current situation, and so there's more people trying to get in on some of the action. We will see. Perhaps I'll try to get into like a stealth bomber or something like that and see if I can't catch one of these guys, locate them and then catch them. I'm not really sure where they're at or anything like that. Haven't done that research yet. I've mostly been bouncing around between Solitude, a Mars space for the BPCs, going back to Galente space, and now I am back in Jita for a little bit of trading. If there is one activity that you can still do in EVE Online, even if you are war decked in absolute safety, it's this station trading, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I have been looking at some more opportunities. Doing EVE Talk every week does provide us with potentially some interesting information, and I have completed a trade. It is a Basilisk trade, which I bought for 200 million including taxes, and then sold for 230 million after taxes. So a very quick trade. I think it was like a 3-day trade where I made a 30 million net profit. I think like the sell price was like 244 or something like that, and you can clearly see on the chart what was happening. We had a massive decline all of a sudden from a one-year high point above 280 million. And when it drops off here, so this is something that you do have to remember, when it drops off here, you have to be a couple days before the bottom of the market, when the market still has a lot of momentum from the extra supply that's coming in. That's where I managed to pick one up for basically just below 200 million. I kind of round these numbers up always to give you guys as accurate as possible a number without exaggerating it. And so this is 30 million profit. It is 30 million net increased number on my wallet after this trade. But yeah, I managed to pick it up for less than 200 million. And at the moment, we do have to take a look here. Bars have gone up to 210 million. And then here we have the reverse, of course, where we went back up close to 250 million, and I think I sold it for 244 or something like that, just to make sure that I got that trade in, that I got the profits, and that we can then keep going. So successful trade in the Basilisk, very, very interesting, and this is of course the type of chart that you're looking for with a massive pullback, which is generally due to a little bit of oversupply because of the extremely good price, the one-year high point price of 280 million that we saw. And then as a trader, as a station trader, you can try to take advantage from that like this. Now, is everything going as planned? Here are my holdings, so you guys know that I have been holding a Zvepel that I bought for 41 million. Look at that, buyers have gone up above 41 million, but sellers have come in with a lot more Zvepels, closing the gap down. 45 million for most, 42 million for the others. So this is one where it hasn't worked out just yet. I'm kind of hoping that Nullsec, in fact I just saw a post on Reddit, it may be happening, is going to blow up some Tech 3 destroyer fleets, and if that can draw in enough supply, eventually I do think that this Zvepel can make its way up towards the 50 million, getting me a little bit of profit. And then another one that's not working out, although I could have sold on this peak here, is the Hound. So I bought one for less than 25 million. I could have sold for like 33 million or something like that about a week ago. I chose to hope for a slightly better price. The increase was not that great, and you can see now that eventually this is a pattern that does repeat itself. Fresh supply comes in, drives the price down from the 33 million. Here's 30, 29, 28, 27 million now, 8 of them. It's going to take a little bit of time to absorb this, and then the buyers, they have a little bit more room to breathe as well, with someone putting in 48 hounds that they're willing to buy at 24 million. So yeah, if you do want to get in on this trade, which at the moment I would say, right, you're at like the very tail end of another one of these opportunities, you could try it, but you'll have to go above 24 million. For me, the cutoff is below 25 million. That ought to be a good trade. Even if I would sell it now, well, if I'd sell it now at 27 million, not looking at a profit, but once we go to the 28.5, 29 and then close to 30 million, we are already making potentially a profit on this one. Doesn't need that much product to move for that to happen. So hopefully we can get a second bounce, but here I should have pulled the trigger so that I'm ready for more. And then I'm also going to divulge this one here. Look at this LOKI chart. Now during EVE Talk I always mentioned that the Tech 3 cruiser market is very small and thus is rife with manipulation, in my opinion. So I do consider this one a gamble and not a trade, but the chart for the LOKI was very interesting. All of a sudden we dropped down massively from another 1-year high point. So I managed to buy one for 161 million including the taxes. I think this can still be matched, although the first buyer coming in at 160 is going to make that a little bit difficult. And then the first sellers now are at 171, and you can see that that bottom is forming here again if we have enough momentum, or if manipulation happens for higher prices at some point. I should be able to get a good profit on this as well, but you know, it's a single LOKI. I'm not going to go and buy half a dozen or anything like this. I fully acknowledge that this one is a little bit of a gamble, but the chart just looked a little bit too good. If we try to get 160, right, I managed to buy right on this bottom, and we can see here 160, those have been trigger prices for recoveries before. So I'm hoping that this one will work out as well. But what has been very noticeable, considering this completed trade, is that the Tech 2 ship market that has really gotten most of the volatility lately is the Caldari ship market. And so for the second part of this video, after talking a little bit of the trades that I'm doing at the moment, we are going to take a look at the Tech 2 ship market for the Caldari ships specifically. So let's just go across the list for most of these, those that are tradable, you know, sub capitals, not capitals themselves. But we have, for instance, the command ships, of course, and let's take a look at these. Here is the Nighthawk. Pretty interesting. I would say generally Caldari ships very expensive. If you follow EVE Talk, you know that the base materials, the advanced moon materials for Tech 2 ships for the Caldari production are extremely high, and they're able to maintain a very big premium with a lot of volatility as well to 1-year high points. It's kind of crazy, and so this is now starting to be reflected you know, after the industry changes as well, with higher prices for the Nighthawk here, for instance, and we'll see that come back. But what is pretty nice in this full chart is right here, right, well below 40 million, back at 50, below 40, back above 50. This is probably below 35 million, back above 50. This is a ship chart or chart for the market where you can try to make trades in. So at the moment I feel it's pretty risky, but this may be the new normal after the industry changes and with the current cost of Tech 2s, where below 50 million is actually a good deal. And so you can see here again, in a matter of 2-3 days, we have a pullback from an average price of 60 million down to 50 million, 600 million down to 500 million. And you can see these sellers are at 600 million ISK, these buyers are at 490 million ISK, so it is definitely going to be pretty expensive for the wallet. But look at that margin, right? 100 million margin between sellers and buyers. As long as you don't spook the market by trying to buy a dozen Nighthawks or something like that, there is definitely trade potential when you jump in at the right time, like I did with the Basilisk. Then here we've got the Vulture that's currently working on a 1-year high point, or at least very close to that. We went to almost 500 million ISK before here in August. Then we've got a pretty sharp decline. This is not a great chart to be trading in it. The volumes are also very low. There's in fact days where no vultures move on the market. You can see how small these volumes are, and here immediately as well a much more narrow margin. So 460 million for the sellers, 407 for the buyers. I would say for this one I would really wait for a pronounced 1-year low point before I jump in. The problem is the volumes are really not great. Let's see, the high here is like 16 in a day, most is like 5 and less. The Nighthawk at least has a lot of days where more than 10 are trading. So this feels a little bit more consistent. I would dare to do a potential trade on the Nighthawk at the right time. Let's move on then to the battleships. We'll take a quick look at these. Honestly, though, these markets will be so small that I don't think, active trading is going to be that great. For the Widow here, for instance, you can see it's now costing 1.5 billion ISK, 1.6 for the sellers. That's just that general margin between sellers and buyers that we always see for these battleships, volumes below 10 most of the time. And this chart, again, not that great for active trading. Just, I see this as a reflection that confirms that Caldari T2 ship production is extremely expensive at the moment. And then we get the other ones, of course, that have gotten that very nice buff that also cost this right here, would be tradable. Of course, if you look at this increase in price, who wouldn't want to have bought a golem for 1.25 billion and then sold it for more than 2 billion? But you can again see that we are meandering around that range. The volumes on this, if we can take a look at that, well, actually they have gone up substantially since the Marauder buffs, and we're talking almost 1.9 billion for the sellers and at almost 1.8 for the buyers. Again, that pretty normal margin between sellers and buyers showing up in the golem market. But I would say that, yeah, these battleships I need to drink for a moment, sorry, like that. But I would say that for these battleships, it's even more risky than for smaller ships to try and do active trading and to hope for, getting a quick return like what I did in 3 days with the obelisk. No, not the obelisk, with the, goddammit, complete trade with the Basilisk, with the cruiser. And this, of course, would be super juicy, but this is a CCP spike, right? This is a change to the Marauders that has caused this massive spike in a matter of a week. This is not something that you can count on to happen that often. But let's move on then to the cruisers. These could be a little bit more interesting. Heavy assault cruisers, for instance, for the Caldari. Here is the Cerberus, right? 1 year high point not that long ago, up to 350 million. Again, looking at this chart, you can see how expensive they are, but it's that same story. First part of the chart, buy below 200 million, sell for 250, buy below 200, sell for 250, and again going up to 300 million is a little bit less lower, a little bit less of a clear opportunity on the bottom here, but again, that would have been a very nice trade. And so this is how many opportunities? 1, 2, 3. This could almost be construed as 3 opportunities, and then a fourth one. Very nice charts where you can pick them up when they're very clearly low on the chart, which should have been right here. For around 230 million, and now you're already looking at 256 for the sellers. So this is very nice for trading. Then we've got the Eagle that actually has a pretty nice band with the tops above 250 million and then bottoms well below 200 million right here, even touching 180 on most days. Seems like it's very predictable. It's kind of a very interesting one all of a sudden. I haven't really checked it that often, but yeah, 230 million now for the sellers, 213 for the buyers. So I would say that you can still buy. No, not below 280. Yeah, we're in the in-between spot where we're recovering from a spike up to 250. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4 very clear trade opportunities in the Eagle. And at the moment, this is really where the volatility is at. So that's pretty nice. Advanced cruisers, do we have any others? The heavy interdiction cruisers, we'll take a quick look at the Onyx chart. Again, not that bad, and in fact at the moment pretty low on the chart. We're talking buyers below 300 million, sellers already at 338, then going up to 257, 264, 275 very quickly. The daily volumes not that great, but at least we're seeing trade every single day, I would say. And this looks kind of interesting, something that I'll try to do a little bit more homework on. But I again want to show here the Caldari T2 sheep market. Very nice volatility. Look at this trade spike. Look at this one right after that. Here another one. A lot of opportunities to buy low and to sell high. And at the moment, I would say buy an Onyx well below 300 million. And wait a little bit, hope for the top 10 ships or so to leave, and you're looking at some potential very nice profits. Then we get the logistics cruisers, right? We just saw the Basilisk. I just managed to do this trade right here in a matter of 3 days, 30 million in profit, not that bad. And then we got the recon ships. Here is the Falcon. Not that great a chart, but again, decently wavy, and a couple of very nice opportunities right here at the start of the chart. Low point at 230, sell for 300 million, and this would have taken less than a week. That's pretty damn nice. A 1 year low point, very pronounced, and immediately after that, right, a push back up. So the very low point was as low as 180 million, and then 4 days later, you're selling for 240. Very, very nice. And at the moment, we're basically, again, recovering from the bottom. And then the Rook, at least the second half of the chart is not that bad, and triggers apparently close to 200 million ISK, which we've just bounced off of, yeah, back at 215, 210. So these two buyers are, you know, causing a little bit of trouble. But you can imagine, while this downtrend right here was happening, especially these 4 or 5 days where the average price was at 210 million ISK, that these buyers were gone, and that you could have tried to buy it for like 204, 205 pretty easily, already looking at a profit. And then look at the potential, 250 and 300 million even. 1 year high point about a month ago is in the books. So these are very interesting. I would say, you know, Rooks close to 200 million. Look very interesting to keep an eye out for. And then, well, the strategic cruisers, not Tech2, so completely different economy. We won't check on those. Next, we've got the destroyers, and I think the smaller we go, the nicer, but I may be wrong, of course. This is kind of also the reason I'm making this video, for me to take a look at it, learn about this market itself, and see if there's others that I may want to keep a closer eye on. So here's the Corex, for instance, 2 months ago, 1 year high point at 3.2 million or something, 3.4 million in fact. Then we've got that big decline, and we're still in this range. So this one clearly has a little bit less of that volatility, and I think here the volumes may be the exact opposite problem. It's a little bit too much, right? This is all of the Corexes that are available. 40, another 100, another 50 here, going for 1.4 million. Buyers are at 1 million, feels quite depressed. So if you want to, I do think buying a Corex from a buy order does make sense, but you'll need patience for this one to come back. It's pretty obvious that this is not, you know, getting oversupplied all of a sudden. You know, an oversupply in the Corex does seem to have a little bit of a problem, and that's because I'm in the standard cruisers. All right, I kind of felt like something was wrong. Let's go for the Stork chart. Look at that difference, very, very nice. Even at the first half of the chart, you have low points at 50, high points at 70, several very clear opportunities. Here's another one. And then the second half of the chart, you know, you have that with increasing price, increased cost for Tech2 Caldari ships, but the volatility still exists as well. Look at this right here, 60 million, then up to almost 90 million, back down below 70. At the moment, we're back high at 84 million. So that volatility and that difference here, right, between the Tech2 and the Tech1 market for trading for volatility is very, very noticeable. Yeah, I'd say if you have a couple of Storks lying around, definitely a great time to try and sell these. And then finally, we also have the frigates, where we'll start with the assault frigates for Caldari. Here's the Harpy. Not that great, but a very nice showcase, I think, of the premium that we're paying for Caldari production at the moment, going for around 50 million, double top at 1 year high points, and it's still selling for 45 million, 39 for the buyers. And this is also something that I've mentioned quite often in Nighthawk. I do think at the moment, when it comes to Tech2 ship trading, that the biggest challenge is finding those new bottom ranges. Here again on this chart, pretty easy to spot, right below 30 million. Yeah, that looks very nice. But then all of a sudden 25, 1 year low point, and then the volatility starts to go up. So here it's a lot harder to know when you should be jumping in, and that's really the challenge at the moment for a lot of these Tech2 trades. And here this hawk, I mean, the second half of the chart, going from below 30 million to 50, back down to almost 30 million, back up here to a 46 million, back to a 50, down to a 35. So that volatility is absolutely great. I'd say the hawk with buyers at 32 million ISK is definitely, again, potentially in a nice buy spot. And this mechanic does seem to be permeating throughout the entire Tech2 Caldari segment here so far. The buzzards, right, a couple of very nice opportunities again, but look at these bottoms, right, we're not going well below 25. you buy, you're sure to make some money. That's not the story anymore. You have to find those new bottoms. Manticore has some volatility as well, but again, very difficult to notice where we should be jumping in. Electronic attack frigates. Let's take a quick look at the Kitsune. Yeah, very, very interesting chart. And man, this one kind of looks really interesting all of a sudden at the moment. Look at that, spike to 40 million, 1 year high point less than a month ago. Now has been driven down by supply to 23 million, and buyers are below 20 million ISK. You're buying completely below the chart. This is another one where we could try to make an active trade, and then we are at the smallest segment, the frigates, right? Easiest to make, smallest production, easiest to produce and move as well, biggest volumes. And so here you have sometimes a little bit of a risk of having to hold on to that Kitsune for a pretty long time before you can sell it. But yeah, if we could grab a couple of Kitsunes not too much above 20 million ISK, I do think that there is a very nice trade to be had in this one. So that's interesting. What else do we have? Expedition frigates. No, that's not exactly interceptors though for Caldari. Let's take a look at that. Crew also very low at the moment at 20 million, which seems to be pretty interesting. All right, just above 20 and then 22 on a lot of supply. Nothing new coming in. So this could really, and you can see that that bottom has formed here again. This could be like basically your last chance to grab crows close to 20 million ISK and then, you know, ride the wave up, as no one is bringing in crows at the moment. Price is just too low, but look at that. In the last 3 months, 40 million and 35 million came into play pretty easily. And then the Raptor here as well went down to 25 million. One quick note, of course, on the interceptors, and this is in fact for this entire segment something that you should keep in mind, of course, that big unknown does remain of the CCP factor, right? You never know when CCP decides to change a ship. If I'm not mistaken, the interceptors have like lost their innate ability, at least some of them, Travel Scepter's innate ability to go through bubbles. That's definitely a nerf. So this could be the response to that, right? Everyone is dumping their crows, fleets that, you know, were once going to be used by big groups that have them ready just in case, are like, all right, that's no longer the doctrine. So some people try to sell. So it could be in an oversupply and a crash here for that reason. For the crow, I think, yeah, at least it sounds to me from the name that the crow is going to be the Travel Scepter and that the Raptor is the Combat Scepter. So this one is a little bit more expensive, but this is something that you do have to keep in mind when you're trying to trade these Tech 2 ships as well, of course, is that sometimes a crash or an increase in price is a CCP intervention, a change to the ships themselves, and that is something that, you know, doesn't become predictable or something that you can expect to happen again in the future, or to just turn around again, you know, on a dime. So that's a risk. And then the logistics frigates, we'll end with that one. Here is the Kian. Not that bad. I think a little bit newer, a little bit less popular, but yeah, just a month ago, another 1 year high point, apparently trading above 60 million ISK on a couple of days. And again, that same pattern touched 30 million on that downtrend, and I'm kind of sure that no, you can still buy below 30 million. There's still more of them being brought in at 28. So this also feels like a bit of an overreaction to the market, where potentially you could jump in, try to jump in below 30 million, and then hopefully have another ride up to like 40, maybe even 50 to enjoy. But this is something that you know, under a war deck you can definitely do as well. Of course, all of this doesn't require you to undock or to risk your ship, and yeah, I've been doing that a little bit, and I can report that first successful trade in the Basilisk, and I'm seeing a couple of potential jumping points on these Caldari ships in general. So Caldari Tech 2, very volatile. It's always risky, right? This is trading after all, you know, just like trading with Bitcoin or stocks or things like that. But at least here it's within EVE Online, so I feel like here it's okay to do. In real life, I'm way too risk averse for that. But it's fun to try and get something going that way. And then when you're successful, it does feel really good. So yeah, there you go, guys. A bit of a video on some active trading. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.